Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question to the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
It's Coffee Ann here on ON AM and FM. Thanks for joining us. It's Monday morning. It's August 12th. My name is Joe Callahan. Thanks for joining us. Dave Richards is here. Good morning to you there, Dave.
Type it up. I'll sign it.
Okay. And former mayor of the town of Cumberland, Bill Murray, is here as well. Good morning to you there, Bill.
Good morning again, Joe. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Nice to have you here
and
with
Dave.
us as always. And you wanted to mention something right off the bat.
People
passed away
we
in
had
Cumberland.
two very good Cumberland people that passed away this past week. One was John Tweedy, whose
We
wife,
just had his obituary on
which
here.
his wife is worked for the former governor and myself as assistant to the police chief. Still does, actually. And just a great guy. I've known him for many years. And the other one that is John Jackson. You might remember that name. So
town
John's
council
been a
president.
friend of mine. John was the many years on the town council in Cumberland. I don't know how many years, but he was town council president. But what I wanted to add to it was, and tell you the guy, both the former mayor, which is now Governor McKee, and myself, used him when in all the big storms, the hurricanes and the bad storms, because he worked for the electric company at the time, and he was our go-to guy in Cumberland.
And that wasn't even his job. PR wasn't his job.
No,
he was in security.
That's correct. But he always he had the connections, and I remember sitting many nights, in the emergency room that we had at the police station.
Right.
And John was there with us all the time and would sit for 3-4 hours to help us to
That's
contact
why we
the
couldn't
right
get him
people.
in Woonsocket. He was out there in Cumberland.
You bet your life. We only paid him more. You people were too cheap here.
Could be.
But I did want to mention the family. John's wake is tonight and funeral tomorrow, and then again another John Tweedy is on Wednesday and Thursday's funeral. But both great guys, and it was a shock. Well, one was a shock, and one was kind of anticipated.
Had been on glide slope for a while.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't unexpected.
Yeah, no. It's hard when you know people that have helped the community so long. So my condolences to the families. I've known both families for over 40 years, and it's just, I guess as we move along and we get older, that's what we see. Too
Right.
much of it.
All right.
So it just means you've got work to do, huh?
Well, I'm moving
You're not
fast.
checking out
I'm
'cause you
moving
got work
fast so
to do.
they don't catch me.
There
Let me
go.
leave it that way.
All right. I always looked at it as, well, I guess I've still got work to do.
Yep. No, I'm just moving fast. That's why I'm on all these boards and working.
That's right.
Yeah.
And on Coffee Inn also.
There you go.
As long as I can get up and go.
I wanted to ask Bill this question because you're the former mayor of the town of Cumberland, and Bill, I can't remember when they were not working on the Mendon Road Bridge over 295. It has to go back to your administration.
It started just after my administration.
Did it? Was it?
Actually,
Okay.
it's 2019. And it's
5
funny.
years they've been working on
Funny
that
you
bridge.
said this because I drove by it Sunday coming from church
Okay.
with my wife, and I said, it doesn't look like it's anywhere near ready to
No.
that. But remember, when they fix that side, they go to the
Fix
other
the
side.
other side.
So we're going to see another 3 or 4 years with that.
Oh my gosh.
And then a lot of people don't realize, and this I could never get this through to the state, is that the Diamond Hill bridge has to be fixed. So all the work we did on the roundabouts, and you know
yes.
the beating I took on the roundabouts. And
so that bridge needs
we
work
survived.
now?
It's going to be done. And I said to them back in the preliminary roundabout meetings, I said, well, let's do the bridge too. You're going to have
same
everything
time.
ripped apart. Oh, we can't. It's not in the plans. I just never could get that through my head. And,
Yeah.
and you know me, I argued quite a few
I'm
times.
sure you did, yeah.
So they announced that bridge was supposed to be started, I believe, 2 or 3 months ago. So can you imagine if that bridge,
Both of
and they
them?
backed off,
Oh, yeah,
so you would have had,
That bridge in East Providence needs work. So.
yeah, I don't know whether Diamond Hill will ever be fixed now with some
Yeah.
of the money problems, um, but can you imagine having Mendon Road, and now you're
And
gonna have
Diamond
Diamond Hill? You'll have people jump, because as everybody knows in Cumberland, we have two roads.
That's
They
it,
run
yeah.
parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do,
And
yeah.
I don't care what you do,
You'll
I've,
be on
I've
it.
faced it and everything. The work south of McDonald's and near Burger King is something we also argued, not just me, other people were involved, so I don't want to take the whole credit
Yeah.
because we had that drainage problem, and that is all being worked on to be eventually fixed. When it's fixed, everything's going to be very good, but
But like you said, it's been
Who
5
done-
years on that
I know,
bridge, and
exactly.
it looks nowhere near being complete.
Nope.
Now, everyone's got to get over onto one side of the bridge.
And now they're going to move over. Then they'll move over.
And
When
then
the
we'll
other
move
one's
back.
ready, you go over to the right side, and
So it's another 5 years.
What,
Yeah,
what I'm
well-
concerned about, well, I mean, everybody understand this. I mean, not everybody, hopefully not everybody knows that we are in the midst of a very, very long reconstruction project here inside our plant. And you could do all this in 2 days if you didn't have to keep the station running. The problem with the bridge construction, obviously, is that, oh, heck, 2 months you could put a new bridge there if you put your mind to it, but to keep the traffic going over it and to do, then it multiplies. The time multiplies. We still got 2 more weeks' work to do around here before we get it to the next phase.
Right.
It's so. I mean, it's easy to say, okay, let's replace that bridge. Let's move tech center from downstairs to upstairs. Every stinking wire in the place is affected, and your TV, your radio, your internet, all of this stuff is all affected. And to do that without going off the air, that is the trick.
Well, it certainly is. But you go back to these bridge repairs, and I'm very familiar with that roundabout because again,
Yeah.
the controversy and the whole
Yeah.
bit.
Well, they were
The prob-
unfair about
the
it, but
problem,
they were
yeah, but
unhappy.
the problem is with this is that they're trying to do too many things. I remember sitting in a meeting with Alvidi way back, and he
Is
had
he
just
as nice as everybody
yes,
says he is?
He is a very
Okay.
gracious man, very tough.
Yeah.
And very busy man. I had actually got along with him very well, and he did a lot of good things for Cumberland. I
Right.
just ran into him at a dinner maybe a month ago, and he said, I still have to thank you for the roundabouts because with all the problems, he made sure that I had the answers as a mayor.
Yeah.
And there was no backing out. He's a very powerful
People
guy.
didn't like your answers, but they. You
Well,
had 'em.
because they didn't like what they, and now I'm getting, even Tom Ward complimented me, believe it or not. Tom was one of my
He was
big
he
enemies.
was against it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and now he says to me, you were right.
You were right,
Not
okay.
that I was right.
But the plan was right.
The plan was right.
Yeah.
When we saw what they were going to do on that project, which was putting lights up, that wouldn't have
Oh, that would've
helped
been
us.
ugly.
Because the biggest problem we had was head-on collisions.
Yeah.
That's what came about. It was my police chief, Damaris, who's the one that came to me and said, we can't do those lights because everybody will be racing because you'll have
Trying to beat the
Chapel,
light.
1, 2, you'll have 4 lights and
Yeah.
everybody will be racing to get through the lights. So he's the one that pushed me to the roundabouts because I didn't need the headache. Otherwise, and it's proved out to be the right thing. But what I was going to say is this problem with the state is when he took over, there were a lot of bridges in disrepair.
Oh, sure.
So he has $1 given to him. He's going to spread that dollar out over 20 projects.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why you see a lot of this delay in timing.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to do, if he just did the one thing, it'd be over.
I got to ask you about this, and
Yeah.
and I'm going to ask you about something that I honestly don't know what I'm talking about with this. But this is stuff that you hear.
Nothing new there, Dave.
And
but
you're
this is-
asking me?
Yeah. This is stuff that you hear. I think you know more about it than I
Okay,
do.
well, let's try.
It's just stuff that this is all gossip here. But wasn't this entire big road project? Yes, there was a federal aspect to it as well. But wasn't it all supposed to be funded by the gantries that haven't been operating in a few years? And the money's not coming in for them. What's going to are we in danger of coming up and finding, oh, gee whiz, there's no more money to do these things, and we're not going to finish the projects?
My opinion, yes, you're absolutely right.
No,
because-
really? I know.
No, you're right.
what I'm hearing
because-
is true.
Yeah, no, you're, the problem is, and I don't know how much they were banking on the gantries, because I fought the gantries.
Right.
You're gonna look back into it, and I actually was on television fighting them.
Yeah,
And then I got a call from, the Speaker of the House
yeah,
to come in and sit with me.
yeah,
And basically, he said, no, my problem in Cumberland as the mayor
yeah.
was not as much of the gantries going in,
Right.
but now moving the traffic onto the local streets because of people trying to avoid the gantries.
Exactly. Right.
So I got a commitment on how we could stop that. I can't get into it because
Okay,
it was,
right, yeah.
it didn't happen, so we don't have to worry about it. But the gantries, I never really heard that the gantries were gonna come in with X amount of dollars, okay? And that will take care of X amount of bridges or roads or whatever. Yes, there was talk about this would be a big pot. But now as you look at the picture, and I'm not in the picture anymore, so I'm not talking from a
Yeah,
point
you
of
hear
no-
things secondhand like I do,
so,
yeah.
that, and along with the bridge on 195, there's gonna be some serious problems of what's gonna get finished. And my guess is right now, and if I know Alviti, they have put probably a schedule together that from like A to Z, starting A is the most important ones that have to be done, because
Right.
that's what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to go into a priority list, and it won't be a political one. It'll be a list of what is the
Safety.
safest, or what's the worst, so that become the safest.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's gonna happen, but I think we're gonna see something, because they were banking on that money exactly what you're saying. They were banking on that, but they didn't really come out forcibly because they didn't know how much money they were gonna, and they knew they were gonna be in a lawsuit. That hasn't been settled yet. That's not
know.
that's not a done deal.
It was nice to have them there, though, when this representative up in Massachusetts started saying we should put tolls there at the
Oh,
Rhode
yeah,
Island
that's
border.
right.
You know, and my imagination runs wild on that, and it's somewhat humorous, but I can just picture Dan McGee. He's down there in the office, and he reads this news dispatch. They're talking about Massachusetts putting
Yeah.
up tolls
Right.
for Rhode Islanders, and he said, "Now I know what we can do with those gantries. Only Massachusetts plates. Got it.
Well,
Hello, Maura. It's like this.
Yeah.
You do this, I do
do
that.
that.
Damn me, they're already there. I flick a switch.
That's right. That's right.
You gotta build them."
Yep.
Well, and back in Cumberland, you know, the roundabouts didn't take 5 years to complete.
No.
And that's what me as the layperson
Well,
who just keeps going about day-to-day business, you just look at the one in Mendon Road and say, when is it going to be done?
Well, I'm not an expert by any.
Well, bridges are more bridges
are more
bridges
difficult.
more, I think, technical. But the other thing with the roundabouts, and here I'll take a little bit of credit, is that we pushed it so it wouldn't be a delayed. I was concerned about the delay factor, making it even worse when people said, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I'm still disappointed because I go by it 10 times a day because I live there. Is Chapel Four Corners. I still don't think that was done the right way, but we kind of lost a few fights in this one. However, we had to get it done, and if you think about it, if you know that area, there's an industrial park.
Right.
And one of the things that was a fight, and we did it, people don't realize it now because they get a lot of traffic, and they're going to have more because the FedEx building has been sold to a big trucking company. But I insisted that we put the wiring in so that if it really gets bad at Industrial Park, that they put lights there.
Lights there. Okay.
And that'll alleviate that problem because now I go up there every once in a while. It's a nightmare trying to get out there in the traffic. But again, it was all, and I can't take all the credit. I had help that we kept pushing it, and we didn't let them kind of drag their heels. And as I said, when you asked me about Alviti, he knew the situation, and he put his people, you know, on the spot to say, hey, what the mayor needs, you get, and let's get this done.
So that's why the roundabouts in that area are so big, because of the tractor trailer trucks. They can't do small
Well-
circles. They have to do wider circles.
Well, if you look at it, and I had to learn this, the roundabouts are different than, what do they call the other ones?
Rotaries.
Rotaries. And the argument was the rotaries, because if you remember the rotary over near the Fox.
Rotaries are
like-
illegal,
like
Bill.
Yes, and but it's a different, it's a different design, it's a better design.
Yeah.
And that's what Alviti came to us and said, no, we're not doing rotaries. We're doing roundabouts. And everybody, including myself, said,
It's the same
what are, you
thing.
What's the
what are you
difference?
talking about?
Yeah.
It's a circle.
Yeah.
And then, because I remember my daughter was up in Situate, Mass, and they had a rotary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare. You can't get in. But the design of the roundabouts is better so that the flow is
Yeah.
there. And so that's how that came about. A lot of people didn't know that. And I didn't either until I questioned it. And but it's interesting, and they had their statistics and stuff about the roundabouts now. Well, they learned actually down in Warwick. You remember the mess down
Oh
in
gosh,
Warwick?
there's like 3 in a row down
That's
there.
right, and they learned, and he would keep telling me, Alviti would keep telling me at meetings, is we're learning on these things. So what Cumberland prospered from was really the failures of some of the Warwick stuff. So, and they knew it. So
And they do, and
you have
every
to give
time I
them
go
credit.
down there, the Buttonwoods.
Oh, it's still.
I end up in somebody's parking lot
No,
because
it's always-
I should have been in this lane
Don't
and not in
feel-
that, but you couldn't tell that at
No,
first.
I just did that not about maybe
Right.
a year ago. I was down at a hockey game down at Thayer Arena.
Yeah.
And we went to have breakfast, and I don't know where I ended up. That's somewhere. And by the way, I've never been lost on the roundabouts in Cumberland.
All right, good.
But I want it noted that Tom Ward apologized to me.
Well, that's
And
nice.
the next time you talk to him and he's on the show, make sure he does
He's
it
a
publicly.
gentleman. Yeah.
All right, one more note before we take our first break, because I saw it this morning driving up on Route 146 after coming off 295. New traffic pattern on 146 going north is going to start this Friday. I don't know what they have planned.
I just came through there. I didn't see that. I must have been sleeping.
It's I don't know if it's right before 99 or right after 99. There's an electronic sign.
I didn't even.
And it said, I said,
I'm oblivious to
and all
it.
I said, all I thought, something. I missed the first part of the message, and the second part was came up and said like starting this Friday. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is starting this Friday? And here I am going 50. Hurry up and change. And it just said new traffic patterns coming
So,
at the end of this week. I'm
Can
like,
you
oh.
ask either one of you answer me a question? Because
What's
my
that?
wife asked me, because we were up in Worcester 4 times this last 3 days with the girls playing
Mm-hmm.
hockey. We're coming back now. You going north? You have the ramp.
Yes,
Are they going to build a second ramp?
they're supposed to.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I meant to ask because I do business with the Benoist over
Yeah.
Subaru and these, and my car goes there. I've been asking them because that was a big controversy.
Yeah.
Oh no,
They're
this is
supposed to be.
yeah. Again, going back to, it's always different when you have to do it and keep operating, and
That's
it doesn't.
right, you're right.
And it does. It takes forever, and it doesn't look like nothing until it's all over. No, that was well enough publicized. I got it in the news channels. They couldn't wait to put that bridge up because of the weights were going past 295 to try to get to that light
Yeah.
going north.
Right.
So they said, well, we can put up half of it, and then we'll widen it to double that width.
That's where the pattern is changing.
Maybe that's
Excuse
it.
me, because northbound, when we started Thursday going up to Worcester,
Yeah.
they Lynch is doing that project, and on the right-hand side, they were doing all that paving along where the arena is.
Yeah.
So that's what I think you just nailed it.
Right.
Is what's happening is
They're
they're
going to
going to move everything over.
That's
My
right.
thinking is to
To
the
the
right.
right.
and put this new ramp in.
Right. Going
Okay. So I
going
think-
going northbound.
Right.
They only had one lane.
Yep.
So they said, well, where can we use it?
Yeah.
And this will help a little bit. And so okay, northbound only.
Yeah.
But it's going to be double wide now. You notice how they really didn't finish it well?
Right.
Right. It's going to be double wide. Instead of 2 lanes on each side, it's going to be 1 lane on each side. Double wide flyover bridge.
Right.
And then they open it to 2-way traffic.
Correct. And then
So that's the
well, is the
whole
ramp
phase
going?
thing.
Is the ramp going north? Going to be now the southbound when everything's finished?
Yeah.
That's what I
Be-
think.
because
That's what I
because
think.
that's
Yeah,
because it's going to
right.
be on the left.
Right.
But actually,
You
yes
only
and
got one lane
yes and
then
no.
going past Super
Yes
Bowl.
and no. They're going to widen it on both sides.
Mhm.
So they're
I got it.
adding a lane on both sides to the lane that's there now.
Yeah, but where is the other ramp going? Is it going next to the one that's there now on the right side? Is that where it's being built? So that if you follow me, there'll be
They're just going to widen everything in the center,
so there's not going to be
and they're
another
going to
ramp?
narrow everything on the sides.
Yeah, but they're not gonna build another ramp over Sales Hill Road?
But that's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's the bridge.
Well, but where is
the
that
flyover
bridge?
bridge is going to they're going to add a lane on one side, a lane on the other side, and make it twice as wide as it is
Yeah,
now.
but they're doing that on the right side right now. I mean, you got
They're
one
doing
lane. You only
they're going
got
to do
one
it on
lane.
both sides. It's going to go
I got
on
you.
both
Oh,
sides. It's
okay.
going to widen up.
I got you.
So in the end, there'll be two travel lanes north, two travel lanes, one
Right.
north and one south,
Yep,
on the flyover bridge.
right,
Right now, there's only one
right,
travel lane, so you can choose a direction, and they chose north.
right,
All right. So then the north is going to move over to the right.
right. Okay.
South will come in on the right. Well, it'll be the right for them on the other side, and then on the sides, they got a lot of these in Florida where there's just one little lane down on grade, and the flyover bridge is the multiple lane.
Yeah, because the bypass is Sales Hill Road.
Yeah.
And you still have to have a process. If you want to get over, as an example, to Nissan and you're coming up 146, you got to have a lane so you can go underneath the,
One lane.
Yeah.
And you go underneath
yeah,
a
that makes sense.
double wide flyover than what you see now.
Yeah, if you want to use Sales Hill Road.
If you notice, when you go by it, all the drainage conduits
Yep.
just like end a few inches
Right, right.
out there in the open.
Right.
That's because they're going to be added to
I get you. Yep. Makes sense.
when they build that other lane.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Coffee and program.
Yeah.
More coming your way. Please stick around. The Broaster House is the place for excellent dinners like broasted chicken or chicken family style, Delmonico steak, and hot turkey sandwich. The Broaster House features 10 delicious appetizers like stuffed quahogs and the house sampler. Enjoy seafood at the Broaster House like butterfly shrimp or broasted fish and chips. And don't forget the combinations from 4 to 32 pieces. Eat in, take out, and they cater at the Broaster House, 263 Pond Street, Woonsocket. Call them at 762-1717. The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
We are local and live at 99.5 FM.
All right, it is Coffee and here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. This is Joe Callahan along with Dave Richards and former mayor of the town of Cumberland, Bill Murray. Did you watch any of the Olympics, Bill?
I watched, a fair amount.
Yeah, good. We did well.
I think
126 medals.
I
and
think
40 goals, so not bad.
Especially the track and field.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
they cleaned up
The
and
runners were great.
they really did. That was they and when you have the two basketball teams win, they won by the skin of their teeth.
Well,
by
especially
the
the
way,
women.
that was surprising.
Yeah.
But I think the pressure was on them so much
Well, yeah. They're
that
expected to win.
that they didn't play their natural blowout
Right.
game
Right.
because France in both cases, because they played France. You turn around and look what happened.
Yeah.
Is that France had nothing to lose. If they won, that would have been the biggest nenews thing in.
And they had the home crowd
Oh,
going
absolutely,
crazy for them.
absolutely, sure.
So-
So
that
they
was big.
that was a surprise there.
Mhm.
But they were. So we tied China
Yes, for the number of goals.
on the
medals.
goals,
40 for each
and then
country.
won by about 13 of maybe more of the overall medals. And it was good. I personally didn't like the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony. I
I
thought
didn't
they were
watch either
terrible.
one.
I didn't watch much, so I shouldn't have even say something.
Although I heard Tom Cruise made an appearance.
He did.
He jumped down out of the
I
from the top of the stadium.
Yeah, well,
he did it months
okay.
He
ago.
came in on a
He did it-
motorcycle.
He did it months
he did
ago,
it-
yeah.
He did. It was just, it was Mickey Mouse, and of course, the opening ceremony when they had, I guess, against Christianity, the knock on. I think it was bad taste that they did a lot of things like that, but I don't think that was well done. And the other thing I can't believe, they spent $2 billion on cleaning the river and it never got cleaned.
People still got sick.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
And why were they having people swim in the Seine is beyond me.
Oh my God!
So,
Can you believe that? And I don't want to get on it on the air, but they described some of the stuff that was going on there. But that's after $2 billion.
yeah.
Who had their hand in that one?
Yeah, but they had 1,500 years to dirty it up.
Well, that's true.
They only had 4 years to clean it up.
That's true. That's true. But
All right,
a lot of money floated down the river.
And
I
of
see-
course the COVID spiked
Oh,
during
yeah.
the games in that area.
Yeah, well, look at the poor Lyles from
Yeah.
the U.S., who was an absolute sure winner in the 200, and he comes down with COVID.
Yeah.
And he's lucky he made third
Right.
place. You really, you look back at it, and I'm not going into a story that had but my son Michael tried out for the Olympics in '92, and was the last cut in Connecticut for the hockey team. And I'll never forget that. What a disappointment, because they worked hard to make it. And now you look at these, I only bring it up because if you look at these kids now, they work for months and years on end to get there, and then all of a sudden come down with COVID the
Oh, I know.
night before a thing, or they sprain their ankle. I mean, it's such a fragile.
Life's lesson.
Yeah, it's a fragile, very fragile.
And what I just heard over the weekend too, as of right now, and of course things may change, but the Summer Olympics in 2028
LA.
in LA, right now boxing is not a sport,
It
Good.
shouldn't be good.
and so
Good to hear
it
after
may
what they
change.
did.
Right, I know. It may
If
change
I was in
coming up,
charge,
but-
I would say, okay, every year, every Olympic, 5 sports are
Oh.
removed
to add
until
new
you get
ones?
until
Okay.
you get down
Oh.
to something manageable.
They had
All right.
You have too many sports in the Olympics.
The Summer Olympics. They
some of they do.
Take away 5 every year.
Oh, look at they had it breakdancing.
I know.
Could you believe that
how,
one?
How silly.
I-
Yeah.
I-
We won the gold medal though. I think we won.
Yeah, he
we
did.
did. The guy
Yes, he
from
did.
Florida.
No, the kid from Florida.
Florida
yeah.
won the gold medal in it.
Kissimmee,
And I'm like-
Kissimmee, Florida.
And I only saw the highlight of it. I'm like, no,
Well,
okay.
my wife was watching it, and I saw that, and I got up and left.
That's enough.
That
of
was enough for me. But they eliminated some good sports.
There was no baseball this year,
Nope.
but baseball will be
Well,
back next year.
Well, baseball did that on their own, from what
Did
I
they?
heard.
Oh, they didn't wanna
Yeah.
be there?
No, they.
Okay.
That's a big problem because
That's right in the
you
middle of
stop
baseball
the season.
Yeah.
Now
Do we
they're
stop or not?
obviously back in L.A. because it's local.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's going to be
Well,
interesting.
I mean,
Can
they
they
could-
clean up L.A.? That's the question I want to ask.
Right.
They'll try.
They can clean up a percentage of LA. But it's got to go
near
somewhere.
the stadium.
So like you see all the stuff that we have out there, all the construction debris out there in the halls and stuff like that. Yeah, that's going to go away. But it's going to go away someplace else.
Yeah.
Just
You
so
got
you don't
another
see
closet.
it.
Another closet.
Well, there you go.
You know, the Paris Olympics were the Olympics that committee was lobbying to have it in Boston. Remember they were lobbying
Yes,
in
they
Boston?
were. I did
That was
remember.
the Summer Olympics that we were supposed
Was
to.
it?
They wanted it for 2024.
Yeah.
What
No,
a chaos that would have been.
Ooh.
Mass and Cass.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, but
All
it
right.
happened in L.A. I'm not sure how
they-
that's going to work.
Well, they've had it before.
Oh, I know
so
they have. I
They're
know
used
they-
to. They can
got-
keep
and
it.
They, have
They
the
don't
col-
have to build
They
any
can have it.
they
buildings
have the
in LA.
Coliseum.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. It's
You're
all there.
absolutely-
So you guys can have it.
No.
Congratulations.
I want to know what happened out in Tahiti.
With the surfing.
Right. Because I didn't
don't
hear
know.
nothing about that except that they couldn't do it in Paris because there wasn't
Well,
big
there's
enough
no,
waves.
There's no beach.
Right.
Well, they had it. They showed it.
Yeah.
They had it, yeah.
Oh, they showed it.
Well, see, yeah, but you watched it. I avoided it.
No. They, I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't have much of it on, but they did.
They went to Tahiti
They
for
did
the
show it,
surfing.
and yeah, well, that's why they probably went there. The waves were tremendous.
Great.
Not that I'm a
Okay.
surfer, but
Yeah.
they looked like they were pretty decent.
Okay.
And yeah,
We're gonna take a break right now. It's time for a look at the forecast being brought to you by Qdoba.
Increasingly cloudy today with a high of 78 degrees. Tonight, mostly cloudy, gradually becoming clear. Overnight low of 55. Tuesday's weather, sunshine and 82. Wednesday, sunshine and 83. Thursday, mostly sunny and 81. Friday, sunshine and 82. Saturday, sunshine and 80. And on Sunday, partly sunny with a high near 79.
Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street with sunny skies. We have 71 degrees. Stake it up a notch with new habanero lime steak from Qdoba. It's the perfect hit of heat to spice up your entree. Order today at Qdoba.com or download the app.
For an Allstate agent, providing protection options that fit your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and helping customize protection to meet them. From bundling your home and auto insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage, your Allstate agent can help build an insurance proposal that fits your life. And just as important as learning what you need is learning what you don't. Because helping you get coverage you want with savings you deserve is what Allstate is all about. It's time to get coverage that's catered to you. Are you in good hands? Call Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, two locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. One telephone number, 765-5000. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
There's an old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Don't get fooled again, Woonsocket. I'm John Ward, and I've been working for you and only you for 25 years now. 2 years ago, Mayor Lisa Baldelli Hunt was removed from office for good reason. She angrily came back with a team and tried to have the city spend way too much money buying a piece of land from her friend. This recent report proves it, and in shame, she had to quit. Now she wants her hand-picked mayor to stay in office while much of her team is leaving. Slow audits, overvalued properties, and now private information released. Have you had enough yet, Woonsocket? I know I have. I'm John Ward and I'm running to be your mayor. There's no room for cronyism that keeps costing you money. This embarrassment must stop. Want to know more? Visit wardformayor.org. I'd appreciate your vote September the 10th. We're better than this.
Paid for Friends of John Ward.
Hey, it's ON Radio's Cruisin' Bruce Palmer, and I'd love to have you join me every Saturday for the Saturday Block Party. We start at 4 o'clock when I open up the ON Music Vault for you to pick whatever you want to hear or send to somebody special. Yes, the good old radio request days are back. Join me for the Saturday Block Party, Saturdays from 4 until 7 on ON Radio and streaming online at Woonsocketradio.com.
And it's Coffee In here on ON AM and FM. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Dave Richards, and we're also here with former mayor of the town of Cumberland, Bill Murray. Did you go to the Cumberland celebration?
No, I
at
didn't.
Diamond Hill
I
State Park?
didn't.
Was that this past weekend?
It was this weekend. I heard it was, well,
Yeah, it's a good
from what
weather
I
for it.
saw,
Yeah.
they had a great night and they had fireworks. So they did.
Well, this would have been Cumberland Fest weekend.
That's correct.
Yeah.
This is a replacement for one day
Yes.
for the Cumberland. They've had a problem because Cumberland Fest supposedly, although I think I made the statement on this radio show, I don't think it'll be back.
Really?
I don't think they have the volunteers. You could put a one-day event together.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Crowley is a very capable recreation director of Cumberland, and he puts a lot of work in it. And I have to say that he gets a lot of support from Mayor Mutter. But the thing that's with Cumberland Fest, to run it for 2-3 days, whatever you want to run it, takes a lot of volunteers, and I was a volunteer for many years, and it slipped off where the same old are running it.
Yeah.
And you know what? A lot of them are old. I know 2 or 3 of them that have now gone to Florida.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well,
I hope it's not. But
You do have to reinvent yourself as
Yeah.
time goes along. Now,
That's
I
right.
recall I was on the Autumn Fest steering committee when the
Right.
folks in Cumberland came to us and says, how do you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And, what's your blueprint? How do we put this together for us?
Right.
And we gave them all the best advice we could, but we said, as you're doing it, they said, it's kind of like having a rock band.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing can keep a rock band together if it loses its steam.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow you have to keep the volunteers engaged and excited and stuff like that. Yeah, you have to put on a good festival,
Right.
but if you don't take care of your people, your inner people,
Right.
then you're going to have problems in sustainability. And I know that Autumn Fest works very, very hard at that. Not being on the Cumberland Fest committee, I couldn't tell how they did that.
No.
But they were given that advice. I don't know if they have the same opportunities.
Yeah. Well,
Although you got to think too, the world is changing a lot.
Well-
There's a big story in today's Woonsocket Call-in Times.
Blackstone Valley Call.
Blackstone Valley
Yeah,
Call-in
Call-in
Times about the Emerald Square Mall. I think it was contributed by the company's property in Attleboro.
right.
And it's a very lengthy story. About 35 years ago, on the 10th of August is when they
Yep.
opened up the Emerald Square Mall. And
When
we all
I
remember.
was there.
Yeah.
I was there when it opened.
I remember when it opened.
And you
Yeah.
remember,
Yeah.
how many times during December did the backups go all
my
the way
gosh.
down the
Oh,
hill
you
before
couldn't
you
get
could
off
even
to-
see Route 1?
Yeah.
You couldn't get off 295.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
It
saying.
was a big major. Oh yeah, I
so
remember that.
so you know, and it was such a big part of life back then, and it spurred a lot of other development.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that that concept came, and it's fallen out of favor now.
Right.
Multi-day outdoor festivals, you know, they have a lifespan,
Right.
and you have to develop yourself into something new that, you know, meets the needs of the today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this radio station, 76, almost 77 years old, but we ain't what we were in 1946. You couldn't stay that way.
No.
We try to keep that same spirit, of course.
Sure.
And this program is still on. It's the
Yep.
only thing that's still on from the first day. But you have to add all the magazines, the internet, and the TV, and all the rest of this
All
stuff.
changes.
Yeah, everything changes, and people's needs have to change, and so you have to address those. So I'm just wondering, you're saying that Cumberland Fest might not be back. If they can reinvent it into something that's in demand, yes, it would come back.
But what they need, and that's the biggest thing, is who's going to do it.
Organization.
It's
Yeah.
Well, when you start to lose people that have been there for years, which is what's happening,
Yeah.
is that see the problem is the new crew that I've seen in many other, not just Cumberland Fest, are not coming in. They don't want to get involved. And now Cumberland Fest, a lot of people probably forget, but that was driven by the fact that whatever profits they made went back
Went
to
to
the
youth sports. And so
I-
you had
and
the
I watched-
families engaged.
And I watched it over the last few years that, you know, like I'm using an example, soccer stopped doing it. Baseball, you know, in other words, the team started, they didn't want to do it. They couldn't get the kids to come out and help, but yet they were getting the money.
Yeah.
And when you lose that
Yeah.
support, you don't have any. So the same old people.
So Cumberland Fest was starting at $0 every year and trying to start.
I was not on the finance thing. No, they had a.
They had to have
They
some
had
carryover.
no, they had a
funds.
treasury they were building
Oh,
up,
so-
but
so
they
they weren't
never
giving out
were.
all the money, okay.
They were never. No, there was a percentage.
Okay.
And but they never had. I mean, they never were basking in great profits. You know, because the other thing, and I remember it because especially when I was mayor, I think 2 years in a row we had bad weather, and once you have the bad weather, you might
That's
as
tough.
well check off the box that you just had a bad a festival. You
Right.
know,
We
and
have them in Autumn Fest.
yeah, the same thing, and you
Sometimes
can't.
2 in a row.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it just goes back to you can't get the people to help, and you
Okay.
can't run those things like this thing that happened, and I wasn't there, so I shouldn't even be talking about it. But it didn't take a lot of people because it's a one-day affair.
Mm-hmm.
You brought the food trucks in, which is separate. And I don't know, they had the fireworks. I don't know where that money came from. Maybe the town donated it. I'm not sure. But it was, from what I saw in some print stuff, that it was a success,
Okay. Good.
and which is good.
Mhm.
You know.
All right. On a different subject, because we always it's always tough getting Bill's opinion, Dave. You know.
No.
Really? I hadn't noticed.
Oh,
Presidential nominee on the Democratic side, Kamala Harris, has picked Tim Walz, governor
That's Kamala
of.
Harris.
Yeah, okay.
Kamala?
Has picked Tim Walz as her VP candidate. Thoughts on her choice, Bill?
Do I have to?
Well, please,
Yeah.
and keep it civil.
I'm always. Oh,
Did you get invited to that thing in Newport?
when Joanne
I
asked
asked
me
him
and
that
I
off
said
the
no,
air.
and I wasn't.
He was not been invited.
Being a
I
long.
think we're going to raise
being-
$500,000
Well,
in
that's
Rhode
good.
Island at Newport.
I'm
Good
very
for them.
happy for them. Won't be any of my dollars.
Uh-huh.
And
thoughts
But all
on
the
him
members
and
of
being-
Congress, they scheduled it for August when the Congress is on break.
Yep. Well,
Smart.
I think this is well, whatever. But I've been a long time Democrat, as
Yeah.
everybody knows, and they've just gone too left for me.
You're
I'm
from
being
Cumberland, where they always elect their mayors in September.
Well, that's and I was part of that for a long time up
Yep.
until the last one when they
Oh,
didn't.
are we electing
when
our
they
mayor in
didn't endorse
September
me.
again, are we?
Nobody's running against him.
That's right.
So we're doing it again. But I just can't see either one,
Okay.
and I'm not.
They're just too far to the left.
Too far to the left for me. I'm definitely a conservative, and I think there's a lot of errors in what's been made here. And you watch what happened with Biden, and I think no matter what his situation was, they moved him out of the way pretty quick. And so there's a honeymoon going on now.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it for the record, I am not a Trump guy. But I think we need to come back to with problems with inflation, the border, safety. I mean, those are things that we got to get somebody in there that's going to take control of this. And I don't see that environmentally, which both of these. Well, if you go back to Walls in Minnesota, just look at the riots that they had, and he stayed back and he
Minneapolis.
wouldn't do anything.
Yeah,
and
let it
then
go.
I mean, that's a perfect point. And then he came out. It's been shown where they were asking him about the border wall, and he says, "Well, if they put the border wall up, I'm going to invest in ladders." Now, how could anybody come out?
I guess he's trying to be funny, I guess, but
Well, it's not funny
Well,
because
no, it's not.
because we're being overrun.
yeah.
And then you have to turn around. We've never seen the effect of the illegals here in Rhode Island, thank God.
Not like Texas.
But
and New
I
Mexico
have
and
relatives in
Arizona.
New York, and you want to know the situation in New York,
Yeah.
in other areas, Chicago. It's a disaster. I mean, and it's just out of hand. And I was listening to Kamala last night, in fact, and she's talking about she's trying to skirt the fact that she was the border czar.
I don't know
But
why,
she's
yeah.
gonna take care of the
She's
border
gonna
when
take
she
care of it
gets
now.
elected.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, I'm waiting to see that one.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very surprised at it.
All right. Over the weekend, though, in case anyone was wondering, and I was paying attention, RFK Jr. announced that he will be on the ballot in all 50 states.
Oh,
He's got all his signatures, and they were trying to keep him off the ballot in New York. He had to go to court. Pennsylvania was trying to keep him off the ballot, and he won that. So that was his big announcement over the weekend. That he will be on all 50
Good.
ballots in all 50
Anybody
states.
who wants to run for president should be on the
So
ballot.
there you go.
now who do you think he's going to hurt?
Oh, Democrats, definitely.
No question.
You think
He-
so?
he- yeah,
Well,
he-
now
he's
they're
gonna-
saying
he-
you're going to take. But
He's going to
others are
myrtleize
saying
the
other thing.
Democrats.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay.
'Cause it's-
Which
this thing is so
unfortunately
ra-
is good for Trump.
Well, yes.
Because this is so razor close.
Yeah.
Because of Trump being Trump. People hate him.
Yeah.
I ran into a woman the other
yeah.
day, and I said something. She's been a long time Republican.
Yeah.
And she said,
But
I
just hate-
absolutely will
hate this
not
guy.
vote for this guy.
Really?
And oh yeah,
Okay.
and this is a family member who
Yeah.
is, believe me, was a staunch Republican. So a lot of people don't like him. That's where, other than that, he'd be running away with this. I
Should-
would think.
Should they? Of course, now his next big hurdle, RFK's next big hurdle, is to try to get on the next debate.
Well,
He
yeah.
wants to get on with Trump and Harris in September.
Well, that's
on
where he
ABC.
runs into problems where
Right.
he doesn't have enough money to spread around to bribe the networks that are sponsoring it.
right.
That's a big issue because seriously,
Yeah.
when you get into the number of dollars that it takes to operate over-the-air television network, you can have all the morals and scruples in the world, and you can have a fair-minded person running the thing, but the dollars and cents are going to
Not bad.
rule.
Yeah.
And you've
It's
got
too bad.
you've got this one that's spending $23 million with you, and this one over here spending $20 million with you, and a guy with $2 million wants to come in, and you stand to lose $45 million if he does
Yeah, right.
to get two. and you say, well, geez, you know, I got to run my life, and I feel this way, but I got to run a company, and the company needs this. It's not an easy decision, but it's the way is clear for a compromise and scruples there.
All right, let's take a break here on the Coffee and program. More coming your way on ON Radio.
When you're out enjoying Rhode Island's great outdoors, remember these 3 steps to prevent Lyme disease. Repel, check, and remove. To repel ticks, use bug spray with at least 20% DEET. When you get inside, do a full body tick check. Be sure to check your kids and pets too. If you find a tick, remove it with tweezers. Remember, repel, check, and remove. For more tick-free Rhode Island tips, visit health.ri.gov/ticks. Brought to you by the Rhode Island Department of Health and the Rhode Island Broadcasters Association.
Hello, my name is Paul LaValle from the Woonsocket Knights of Columbus, Council 113. I want to invite you to our annual seminarian dinner on Saturday, August 17th. Time is 5 to 7 p.m. at St. Joseph's School Gym, 1200 Mendon Road, Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Tickets are $15. The menu consists of pasta and meatballs, salad, garlic bread, dessert, coffee, tea, or soda. Tickets are available through any Knight of Columbus member or myself at 401-651-5533. Thank you for your support.
You can depend on us for public service. ON Radio.
All right, Coffee and on ON. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan, Dave Richards, and former mayor of the town of Cumberland, Bill Murray's with us. I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, because Bill, but I saw it, and it must have been a slow news day, slow news weekend, I should say. No one gets shot, and nothing like that. But
Those space shuttles took off?
Nothing blew up, kind of thing.
Really?
So the news story, the big news story over the weekend, it's being
Olympics.
reported. No, well, the Olympics closing, I guess that was kind of big. But the other big news story was, and this is the anti-Trump networks, came out and said, you know, it's being reported that in private meetings, Donald Trump called Kamala Harris a witch and changed the W to a B. And I'm like,
No.
that's the news story?
And he did that?
And he did that. I'm like,
I can't believe it.
I said,
No, the big news story was
But-
was
they
the hack
reported
of,
it
the
as
hacking.
the
That's
was
news.
the
what I thought
hacking
you were
of
going.
Trump's
How about the
organization
hacking?
and leaking to WikiLeaks.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe. So
That was the hacking, yeah. That's
But,
what I
that
thought
was
you were
the real
going.
big
That's
story.
where I
Just-
thought you were going.
no,
And that's probably how they found out about the word that was
Well,
being
maybe,
used.
yeah. And just, well, what did he call? He must have said the same thing about Hillary when he was running against her.
Well, how
Yeah.
about
And what does he
how
say
about
about
Pelosi? Pelosi.
The
Well,
difference
Nancy
was that
Pelosi, yeah.
Hillary was a witch.
That's what I said. That's what I said earlier. Is that he has a tendency, his mouth going on him, and he just gets everybody mad at. But he doesn't care if you
But
look
like I
at
mentioned to Dave, and Dave had better, and you would have more information on this as well, because I was way too young. But I always heard LBH had a mouth on him.
Oh gosh.
it. Oh,
Swore at everybody.
actually,
And no one said boo.
actually, you know who the witch there was? His wife.
Yeah. Oh
Lady
yeah.
Bird?
She ran Lady,
Lady
Bird,
Bird,
right? Am I right there?
oh,
She
do
ran
not
the.
cross
She
her.
ran the. That's
Why?
why he.
Yeah.
That's why he backed. Backed
run?
up, didn't run.
Didn't run
Was
right.
her because
she
of
was
her.
done.
She
Yeah.
didn't want to be first lady anymore.
No,
She
it's,
ran-
it's,
no, but she was done.
She didn't want him embarrassed, I guess. I don't
okay.
remember the whole, but I remember something going on. But that was definitely.
Okay, but he used bad
Oh.
language and
Yeah. You don't think a lot of them don't?
Kennedy, Truman. I don't know about FDR, and I don't know how far back I can go, but yes.
Well, the other guy who, and I met him personally when I was the president of the Woonsocket JCs, is, and I was on the call, on the front page of the call with Nixon, just before he got booted.
yeah.
All the presidents all over the country came there to the White House. That was quite a thing. And they say he was a rough.
Nixon too.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
they
God,
said he
yes.
was a rough.
Character.
But if you obviously when he met, we were under a different situation.
Oh, yeah,
meeting
it's
him
gonna
on
be
a
nice.
reception line.
Yeah.
Right. You knew
And-
how to behave himself.
And
Mr.
he-
Trump has
and
conveniently
I-
forgotten.
And I have a little tidbit to it. So I had Woonsocket on my name tag. So when I got to him, he had a major Brennan. I still remember the guy because it turned out to be somebody that I knew or knew of. And President Nixon looks at me and he says, "Is that buckle down Woonsocket? Woonsocket?" I
Yeah.
said, "No, that's Woonsocket, Rhode Island, sir." And we had a kind of a laugh at
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And that's when Chafee was his Army, was it?
Navy.
Navy.
Secretary of Navy.
Secretary of the Navy. And Nixon said to me, have you met, I never met Chafee. I said, no. And he turned to the major and he said,
Get the
make
senator
sure
here.
Mr. Murray meets Chafee. I was in Chafee's office the next morning.
Wow.
Next morning, who was a wonderful man, by
Yeah.
the way.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Never met him.
Wow.
But that's how quick that ended. And Brennan was from, who was his major, that's why I know it so well, was from Tiverton, Rhode Island. And he knew my relatives in Fall River.
Okay.
And because he came over to get information about me and whatnot. It's a small world when you.
I met Chafee when I was 11.
Oh.
He came to, because I grew up in Burrillville. And I was on my
He
bike.
went all the way out there?
Took the
Holy mackerel. That
took
must
the
have been in the summer.
took the state helicopter out.
Yeah.
It was a big deal
Wow.
because
Oh.
Ashton Court was a development for seniors and disadvantaged people and stuff like that in Harrisville. And I rode with a bunch of my pals out there. And the big thing was when the helicopter came in, the governor's helicopter. I always thought that all the governors had helicopters. They stopped doing it shortly after Chafee. But Chafee did it so he could get around
Yep.
from place to place. And so he could be out on Block Island too. And he would go to Block Island because he had the helicopter.
Excuse me, I think if the governor wants to use a helicopter, National
Police.
Guard will, no, National Guard.
Well, yeah,
Let
if he
him use
wants
it.
to, but there's a
But
cost involved.
it's not put into,
But this had the governor's seal on it.
yeah.
So it was the governor's helicopter, just like he had cars. So anyway, he came up, and the one thing I took away from the whole thing, because he came over and I was in line and I shook his hand, hello, Mr. Governor, is that he had just a wimpy, limp handshake.
Oh, I
Even
don't
at
remember.
11, you noticed that?
Well, yeah,
remember-
because
I
at
don't
that
rem-
point, your dad's teaching you things about
yeah,
being
how
a
big
man,
life,
and
yep.
you're
I
in
don't
scouts
remember
and
that.
stuff like
I
that.
don't remember that.
Well, no, that's funny because years later, I'm in my 30s and I'm meeting him again. I had to go to his office to get some papers and a recording and stuff like that for a campaign ad. So we went to his office down in Providence, and a very firm handshake there. And I happened to mention to him, he says, "How old were you?" I said, "Right." So that was 1966. He says, "I was shaking so many hands.
Oh,
If
he
I'd
had
have
it.
given, I could have hurt you
Yeah.
and not realized it." So he says, "A kid, I'm not going to give a firm handshake
handshake.
to."
Yeah.
I says, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's a.
So the answer came in.
All right. Well, the keeping it on the national front here, the family of late singer Isaac Hayes is suing President Trump, former President Trump, for playing his songs at his rallies. The lawsuit, which alleges copyright infringement, is seeking $3 million in damages. Claims Trump used the song "Hold On, I'm Coming" 134 times at rallies from 2022 to this year, with it being used in Montana as recently as last Friday. The suit also demands the campaign remove any video that includes the song in the background and issue an apology. Well, he's not going to issue an apology for anything.
No.
So.
No, you won't get that.
Maybe he won't use the
And you
song.
won't get the money either.
I mean, that'll be settled
Yeah, forget
years
that.
from now. That's not going to happen. Well, in case you're in Texas, by the way, and you're going to the state fair in Dallas, guns are no longer allowed. Used to be able
In
to-
Texas?
In Texas. Officials say guns will
Wow.
not be allowed on the
Wow.
grounds of the state fair of Texas this year. It's a change in policy was announced over the weekend with references made to a shooting incident that happened last year where 3 people were wounded. In past years, fair officials allowed licensed gun owners to carry weapons into the event. This new ban applies to licensed carry, constitutional carry, concealed carry, and open carry. You just can't have one. In addition to guns, the fair is prohibiting illegal knives, clubs, explosives, ammo,
Oh,
and
gee
fake
whiz.
or replica weapons.
There's no fun here.
Yeah, they'll get nobody at that fair. In Texas?
Peace officers with credentials are exempt from the new policy.
Right.
Which is ironic that the peace officers have the guns.
I don't.
It's very 1984.
I
know.
I could look back at a few years back when my son was playing in Louisiana in the East Coast Hockey League.
Okay, they had a
And
team in
and we're-
Louisiana.
and
Wow.
Oh yeah, they had the Gators,
Oh, that makes
Louisiana
sense.
Gators,
All right.
and sold it out. By the way,
Yeah.
That's another story off the air I can tell you. But what I was going to say is we were out a couple of nights with him, and we were at a bar and talking about how many loosey-goosey things are. You walk out of with a beer. Normally you have to leave the beer there.
Right.
They have a cup at the door so you can pour your beer into the cup. And so I was with him and a couple of his friends, and we get into a truck of a local guy who was driving us. And I look back, and there's 4 guns on a rack behind there. And I said something. And,
One for every occasion and one
and the
another one
boys,
for
and
company.
the boys said, if you show me one truck around here without a gun, I'll tell you it's not from Louisiana. So I always remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And, yet you don't hear of any real shootings down there.
No.
Maybe they cover them up. I don't know.
The 2024 State Fair of Texas, which is in South Dallas, opens on September 27th next month, and it runs through October 20th. Month-long event down there. So if you plan on going, you got to leave
Not
the
now.
gun and the
I
knives
can't, no, I'm not going
at
now.
home. Now that you can't
I
carry.
can't bring my gun.
So forget the whole thing.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw over the weekend as well. Major League Baseball made a deal with Bristol Motor Speedway.
Oh yeah.
And they're gonna have a game on the infield.
That was in Saturday's call.
Yeah.
Well,
they have
calling
they have
times.
a diagram what it's going to look like, and it
Yeah.
looks like it can fit, and so it's not going to affect the track at all, and there won't be a race going around at the time.
No, there won't be.
Hopefully.
But the seating doesn't look so great.
No.
To be down there, it's going to be pretty far away.
But
where
166,000
is this?
people.
Where?
In
fit in
it's
that
in
place.
Bristol, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
That
Yeah.
is, if you've ever been there,
Yeah.
No.
the Bristol Motor Speedway
It can have 150,000
is one of the most
people.
progressive,
Yeah.
really pushing the envelope because they're on the NASCAR circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they actually have NASCAR, but just like, what do you do with the thing the rest of the time? Well, you know how the ownership at Fenway opened it up to concerts?
Mhm.
Well, they opened up Bristol Speedway to concerts,
And hockey too at Fenway.
Yeah.
right?
In the wintertime.
And so now baseball at Bristol Motor Speedway, because they got 166,000 seats
So
in an
it's-
oval.
yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do to draw a crowd?
Well,
It's-
I got to tell you that Joe's right. How are you going to see it? You're going to have
You'll
a
be
lot
pretty
of
far.
binoculars.
It's the Atlanta Braves and the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
I don't know who will be the home team. I guess.
Well, they're closer to Atlanta than
Atlanta,
Are they?
Cincinnati.
Okay. This will take place August 2nd of 2025.
Right.
Capacity is 146,000. The league says ticket pre-sales will start next month, with the public on sale expected in December.
They have a lot of support there. They get a lot of people from Kentucky, North Carolina, West Virginia, and even Georgia to come in there, and of course all of Tennessee to come to Bristol Motor Speedway. They have a lot of support because they're just like funky, fun people. Let's have a party all the time.
Well,
But you can't. They like to party in the infield with the race, and you can't do that during the baseball
Not
game.
during the
'cause that's
baseball
where the field
game.
is.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be closer to the taps out in the stands.
Oh, I guess
Well,
so.
when I was telling you about Louisiana with my son playing, he said, "Dad, they playing on a Sunday at 4:00." He said, "You got to come a little early and watch them tailgate because they're big in football, right?" So I was with a few friends from Cumberland that were with me, and we went over there, and they're tailgating like it was a football game.
All right.
And here's a hockey game. And it was so interesting to watch them. And I mean, when I talked about tailgating, they were cooking
Barbecues.
everything, pigs, everything you could think
Sure,
of.
of course, yeah.
And that's the mentality of it.
Yeah.
And they were very
It's
successful.
a social thing.
Yeah, they were very successful down there, and
The
friendly.
baseball game will be
friendly people.
secondary, but,
Yeah,
you know.
that-
The hockey game.
well, they played at the Cajun Dome, and which was about 11,000 people. They sold it out, but halfway through the beginning of the game, they're not there. They're out tailgating and drinking.
Sure, right. So I knew somebody who liked ketchup. They're fond of ketchup. And they would get fries and put a lot of ketchup on the fries. The
Yep.
fries ended up being secondary. It was the
But
ketchup
wanted
they
the
were
ketchup,
after.
Yeah.
It was a ketchup delivery method.
Yeah, you had to.
And so the ball game's going to be like secondary to the social function.
Yeah.
Could they keep the humidity out of the dome, and to stop the fog from forming on the ice
We
down there?
never saw it.
That
I
was
was
never an
down
issue?
there a dozen times. Yeah,
Okay.
it was well done, but that dome was really the basketball
Yep.
because because LSU is right next door at Baton Rouge. This was Lafayette, Louisiana, and then the football stadium was right next to the dome. But it was interesting because I couldn't figure it out. But if you think about it, there's a lot of French people down there because of the oil rigs, and that's why they did so well down there in the
terms of
attendance-wise. Yeah.
Okay. One more note before we have to close out the program for today. The University of Southern California, has extended its over century-long gold medal streak at the Olympics. Friday saw multiple Trojans score gold, the latest in a long line of athletes who have won gold medals at Summer Olympic Games since 1912. They just keep sending athletes, and they just keep winning. So good for them.
Yeah.
I don't think any other college can
No.
can say that.
No, I think they've had a head start down there.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that'll do it for the show for today. I think, did we cover everything? Did we cover everything?
I think we did.
All right, perfect.
Did we miss?
We probably missed a few
Did
things.
we miss
but,
a
you
few
know.
bridges? And
Probably. All right. That'll do it for the show for today. Thank you very much for listening. Dave Richards, thanks for being here today.
I can't tell you how much fun I have. Every time I sit with Bill Murray, I learn something. And it's always an enjoyable time. Thanks for coming, Bill.
well, it's
Yes,
always
thanks for coming, Bill.
it's always a pleasure. And is my paycheck on the
Sure.
on the
so
way out?
it's right over
Okay,
there.
thank you.
Dave will sign it.
I appreciate it. Anytime.
All right, I'm Joe Callahan. Have a great day. Stay tuned for Leslie Page at the library and Food First with Karen Zangari. Oh, and the Tiki Bar tonight at 6 here on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street in Woonsocket. This is ON AM and FM.
WOON, Woonsocket.
A pedestrian is dead after being hit by an SUV in North Attleboro yesterday morning. It happened just before 9:30. The Bristol County District Attorney's Office identified the victim as 62-year-old Daniel Stober of Hull, Massachusetts, who died less than 2 hours after the accident at a local hospital. And no charges have been filed against the 24-year-old driver yet.